Taliban say they were behind an attack on a restaurant in the Afghan capital, which left at least 16 people dead, among them foreigners. It was in the Wazir Akbar Khan suburb of Kabul. And in that part of the capital, there are many embassy buildings and non-governmental organizations. The bombers targeted a Lebanese restaurant, Taverna du Liban, popular with expats and diplomats. And let us go now to Jane Ferguson in Kabul for the very latest on what happened. What do you know so far, Jane?
David, the death toll is still, as you say, officially at 16 people dead, but that is likely to potentially rise throughout the evening, throughout the night and the early hours of the morning. We've just arrived back from the scene where even now they're still pulling bodies out of there and driving them away in ambulances. So still a big cleanup operation to happen and potentially more bodies to be found inside that restaurant. Now, as we've said before, the police have said that this was a brutal attack using 3 attackers, one a suicide bomber to blow the doors off the restaurant itself, allowing the other 2 to enter, where it would seem they gunned down diners at their tables. Now, Al Jazeera has obtained footage that was taken just after the event, whenever security forces entered, and it is incredibly graphic and incredibly tragic, showing how people have been gunned down brutally. Many people seem to have been trying to hide under the tables when they were shot, and the scenes of this restaurant are really quite incredible. People crouched on top of one another underneath tables, gunned down inside there. So that seems to have been what has happened. Anybody who was injured seems to have been likely to have been outside the restaurant, potentially in cars waiting outside or about to enter the restaurant. Anybody inside seems unlikely to have been able to escape easily from the gunmen.
Jane, you say one bomber blew himself up at the restaurant doors. We should say that these were massive security doors, thick metal, and then it led to a tunnel. This was in an area of Kabul that you would normally associate with pretty strict security.
Absolutely. Those doors, I've seen them myself, very, very thick steel, but the explosion, David, could be heard across the city. It was enormous. But as we've said, this restaurant had been considered fairly secure. Only in Kabul are restaurants, there's a small handful of restaurants that are considered secure enough for high-end diplomats, UN staff, Afghan officials to enter and stay for the evening to eat their meal. They would have had a certain degree of confidence that this restaurant was secure enough for them to do so, and the area surrounding it. This is an area which is thick with police checkpoints, checking cars, checking people moving around, checking for explosives. So a huge breach of security, not just of this restaurant, but of this entire central area of the city.
Jane, thanks very much indeed.